Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Magic Mics, proudly sponsored by our Patreon supporters and CoolStuffInc.com, where you can find cool stuff in stock every day, and our co-sponsor CardHoarder.com, offering the best inventory prices and delivery of cards for Magic Online. I am Evan Irwin, and we get started each week by saying hello to my two co-hosts, Erin Campbell.
Hey, how's it going?
Reuben Bressler.
Hi.
Hi, friends.
A little lower energy today.
Rube's not feeling great, but the best play hurt, now don't they?
Yeah, I'm doing my best. Hopefully, I'll pull an MJ and score like 40 points.
I think it's we've all kind of been under the weather. I mean, weather. I'm gonna stop.
We've all flooded basements in one time or other. I mean, come on, who hasn't?
I was just gonna say it says something about us as professionals, because I was sick for the top 10s episode and I powered through. Evan, you were famously sick during our .1 live show. You're not feeling well. It's what we do. We don't let something like that slow us down.
No, you do the thing and then
soldier on as best I can.
Word. That's fantastic. So, we have a Commander preview. It is Commander Week, and it's all about the Commanders, and the spoilers are coming hot and heavy, and there's some crazy stuff, and we've all chosen 3 cards we want to talk about because they're super cool. We often give Wizards, at least I know I often give Wizards, lots of crap for #Storm and Walmart. And they're bringing back Storm and Walmart, but this time it's okay. Because it's Command Storm. And no one cares about Command Storm because it's just a silly casual format of fun.
Right. And it's not even Storm. It doesn't have the keyword Storm.
Mm-hmm. No. Oh, but they put it in the name so you can have that kind of subtle reference.
Right.
Which is nice. We have the Fury Storm, and we got the Angelic one, which I can't remember the name of.
Yep.
But Wizards decided to give us the green one. Imperial Storm is the white one. And it makes angels, and the black one makes you sacrifice creatures, and if you can't, you gotta discard a card or something. So they gave us the green one, and if you're gonna have a big, crazy, repeatable effect, and I love how, at least for Magic, they're able to really tie together card names to certain effects. If I say Mox, you know what that thing's going to do. If I say Lotus, you know what that thing is going to do in some fashion.
You can say Spectre. You can say Dragon.
Yeah.
There are so many like weird corner case words where you can be like rampant. Or spontaneous. Like there's a bunch of them that are like that.
Absolutely. And so for this one, we have the Storm, but for the green, we have the Genesis Storm, because it's very similar to our very popular pal Genesis Wave, but
Genesis
different.
Hydra.
And here we are. Genesis Storm is a brand new rare card from Commander 2018. It is 2 green, 4 generic mana. It is a sorcery. When you cast this spell, copy it for each time you've cast your commander from the command zone this game. You reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a non-land permanent card. You may put that card onto the battlefield. You put all cards revealed this way that weren't put on the battlefield on the bottom of your library in a random order. You are guaranteed, you are guaranteed to hit a permanent every single time. Genesis Wave, you had to look at X and reveal X, and it had to cost X or less. This time, you're always getting it. It's huge, it's fun, it's going to find a bunch of stuff, and by the time you get around to casting it, particularly if you have a cheap commander, this thing could be insane.
Yeah, I can name at least 3 commanders. I could put this in my Omnath, Locus of Mana deck, which is very easy to... It's a cheap commander, and it's very easy to get the mana. I could also put this in Hapatra. I could put this in Muldrotha, because Muldrotha is 90% permanence if you built it right. And just look at the art. Look at sort of the vortex of like the deer, the reindeer, the spectral animals. Shout out to Mark Poole, somebody we've been seeing quite a bit of recently. This art is just glorious. And the minute I saw this, we saw this before we knew that this was a cycle. We didn't know that this was going to be a thing.
Right.
And so when I saw something that was even close to Storm, I was in, because Storm is my other guilty pleasure. And then I found out that there was a whole cycle, and I think this is fantastic. And we're going to talk about some of the other mechanics making a comeback, but I was like, Storm in any capacity, new Storm cards, I will take it, and I think this is sweet.
Yeah, this card is pretty bananas in like Maelstrom Wanderer. Is the first one I thought of with this card. Yeah, there's some crazy stuff that you can do with Genesis Storm, and it's really fun when they come up with card names that are confluences of their tropes, like we were talking about.
Right.
The best example I can think of is Syncopate, which is a combination of power, sync, and dissipate.
Yeah.
And that's how they came up with Syncopate. Genesis Storm, very similar. You got your Genesis, You got your Storm. You got your Elmers to make Marshall Sutcliffe happy. This is another way to get your elk onto the battlefield.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is just such a cool card.
Yeah, the syncopate, I don't think so, Pate. That's still one of my favorite jokes in Magic. I want to make it a thing. It's never going to be a thing, but I still want to make it a thing. It's fine. But thank you very much to Wizards of the Coast for providing us a awesome preview from Commander 2018. And, you know, for whatever legal FCC reasons, we didn't pay anything for that. They didn't pay us for that. They just gave us a thing, and we, of course, think it's pretty awesome. Mm-hmm. Okay, so speaking of awesome, we have... I didn't really get started with the trumpet blast thing. We don't have one. We'll give you one. If you support us at our top Patreon level. The giveaway is a $50 gift certificate. I actually tweeted about this a couple hours ago because it's not really important to keep the link a secret.
Yeah.
Unless we're giving away something weird or crazy. Like, just tweet it out and you guys can, like, it counts down to where it starts. So it's fine. So you can find it on Twitter right now. And that's fine. And I'll put it over here in the chat so everybody can have it. So, and we got to move to Gather the Townsfolk as we move past our preview. And this is where we get to talk about some of our favorite Commander 2018 cards that have been previewed so far. And I'll go first. And first up, I wanted to talk about Enchanter's Bane. I love this card. It's a red and generic mana. It is a rare enchantment. At the beginning of your end step, target enchantment deals damage equal to its converted mana cost to its controller unless that player sacrifices it. Now, between this and I think it's Demanding Dragon, excuse me, an M19, like, I think Wizards is actually getting really good at the Punisher mechanic. It's taken them a long time, but this is so awesome because red cannot disenchant, but red can give you a choice of, you know, keep it or get hurt.
Yep, absolutely.
This kind of reminds me...
sorry, go ahead.
No, go for it.
This one was going to be on my list of cards to feature as well. I just love it so much. It's the most it's the most overt way for red to deal with enchantments that they've ever gotten, other than maybe Chaos Warp. Maybe. And like, you know, there's like a what's it called, Capricious Ifrit. Like, there's some real weird corner case kind of stuff. But right. This is the it says the word enchantment on it. Like, there, you don't get much more straightforward than that. And so I really like this card a lot.
Oh, it's just a beautiful design. Go ahead.
This reminds me of a card from one of the core sets. I can't remember the name of it, but it was sort of on the same vein of giving black a way to deal with equipment, where it was like, I think you either put it on the equipment or you put it on the equipped creature, and either destroying or sacrificing happens. And I really liked that design. I think this is sort of a play on that, and I think this is really, really neat.
Yeah, this is a red effect, and this is like, you're like, oh, that makes so much sense. When they make like perfect sense, which I think this card does, it resonates so strongly. You're like, yeah, that's what red does. It makes you pay for it. Next up, I want to talk about Crash of Rhino Beetles.
Yes.
This was the LRR, the Loading Ready Run preview, and of course they were hilariously previewing it yesterday.
So good.
Green.
That video is nice.
It's a good one. It's green and 4 generic mana. 5 mana, 5/5. It's a rare insect. It has trample. And it gets +10/+10 as long as you control 10 or more lands. You have a 5 mana, 15/15 trampler because reasons.
It's
also
so over the top.
And they're insects. It's not even rhinos. It's rhino insect creature buddies. And it's so over the top. To me, we've kind of reached this point where Wizards just does not care. Wizards is over it. None of these cards are going to hit Legacy. They can put whatever they want on 5 mana and up, and it's never going to change the thing it's going to do in Legacy. Like, it has to be completely over the top insane. So these cards that read insane in a casual way are never going to hurt the older formats, but they're going to be perfect for products like Commander 2018. This is what these decks needed, is these over the top, oh my god, I got to have it because it's so crazy.
Yeah, to me, that's what Commander is. You know, there's been some conversation lately. I know our friend Sam, Magic Man Sam, he posted a tweet the other day that was kind of, you know, chastising people for playing solitaire in Commander and doing 20-minute turns and saying that's just not what Commander is. And, you know, this card, this Crash of Rhino card, that's Commander to me. Playing ridiculous 8-mana, you know, cards that will never see play in any format, but you can play them and everyone has to read it because no one knows what they do. But that's Commander to me, is just doing over the top, let me live the dream kind of things, and I would absolutely play this card.
It is a beautiful card. Last pick for me is Emissary of Grudges. And I just tweeted about this when I just put design is A+, and I put the hashtag for the set, and that was it, because I just love everything about what's going on with this card. It's a red and 5 generic mana. It's a 6/5 rare Entreat. It has flying and haste, so you're already paying 6 mana for a 6/5 flying haster. All right, awesome. But when it enters the battlefield, you secretly choose an opponent.
Love that line of text.
That's so good. Reveal the player you chose, : I love everything about that sentence right there. I love everything about it. Choose new targets for target spell or ability if it's controlled by the chosen player, and if it targets you or a permanent you control, activate this ability only once. It's everything, like, to me, in terms of like when I see a great Commander game, it's full of politics and there's intrigue and there's backstabbing and there's big huge turns and there's crazy stuff, and the idea that you have this creature out there that can stop anything that targets you or anything that you control, and you're just like, who'd they choose? Who was it? I don't know. Was it you? No, I bet it was you because so and so. I bet it was this because you got that in your deck. You know, it's like, that is an amazing head game. That's just, how are you going to get it anywhere else? That's beautiful. That's just gorgeous. I love it.
Yeah.
That's just
this card is just spectacular. I think it's just a home run.
So
the
good.
Ifriti are a great way to sort of include that sort of chaotic nature. Things like Capricious Ifrit, like I had mentioned before, with that sort of not necessarily randomization, but certainly putting a Mexican standoff element into this game. You know, you don't necessarily need to keep up your wild ricochets or whatever. I definitely love this card.
I mean, just imagine, and I want you to think about how tension-filled and how dramatic it's going to be when whoever it was reveals the player that they chose. Like, it's just going to be huge. I'm telling you, that's the type of stuff that I live for in terms of Magic and, you know, ways it can evoke emotion. Absolutely amazing. Erin, what did you choose and why?
Oh my goodness! So the first card that I picked was a preview card featured at Gathering Magic. Abe Sargent was given this card. Xantcha Sleeper Agent. Oh my God, Xantcha's old school fish.
Yeah.
She goes back to like what were the old Urza's one of the years?
Yeah, the Brothers War. Yep.
Original Sleeper Agent was Urza's Saga.
Yeah. Absolutely. So Xantcha Sleeper Agent is 1, a black and a red. She's a legendary creature minion, 5/5. As she enters the battlefield, an opponent of your choice gains control of it. And then it says Xantcha attacks each combat if able and can't attack its owner or planeswalkers its owner controls. Now, I have a rules question here, so if there's any judges in chat, help me here. So is there a difference between controller and owner? So,
yes.
like, can she still attack you?
No.
She can't attack the person that belongs to her?
No, you own her, as in, like, you brought her to the game, you own that card. If they control her because you give them to her, so it's just
they
like,
can't attack me.
Correct. It's just like they put control magic on it. Yeah, so they can never attack you. So in Legacy, this is a 3 mana enchantment essentially that says 3 mana, deal 2 damage and draw a card. Or is it, that's a thing. I don't think it's going to necessarily get there, but I love the fact that it's a thing you can think about. Go ahead.
Yeah, so she does have a third ability, which you brought up, which is the 3 colorless, and then Xantcha's controller loses 2 life, and you draw a card. Any player can activate this ability. Oh my God, this card, just the flavor of it all. And then the artwork, shout out to Mark Winters. There was another article on Gathering Magic, which billed Xantcha as the first transgender character in Magic the Gathering. You know, Alesha was the first legend, but Xantcha was really the first. And just everything about this card is a home run. And just like I said, this is very much a shout out to the older Magic players who hear that name and they're like, oh my God. And newer players are like, what's a Xantcha? I'm like, oh, you're gonna learn, and it's just a home run.
I love that they do that stuff with Commander where they just dredge up these, no pun intended, Aaron, don't get too excited. They dredge up these old names, these old characters from way back in the day. These you know, you might not necessarily be in the spotlight now, but you know, they've at least been referenced once somewhere. Xantcha has been referenced a ton, but they even came out with a legendary creature that was only referenced on 1 flavor text ever. Yeah. Brutaclad was only ever on Mir Superion or Mir something.
The blue mirror that flew or whatever.
But Xantcha is just another super great home run. You got the
Phyrexian tower in the back room. Yeah, I was just gonna say, so that's really awesome right there. The second card that I'm really excited about.
Oh my goodness, our first Black Miracle.
Oh my God.
First ever.
So the second card I want to talk about is Entreat the Dead. Oh my God.
It's so good. Card's
I love
fantastic.
this. Okay, so Entreat the Dead is XX and 3 black. It's a sorcery. It says return target creature cards from your graveyard to the battlefield, or Miracle. See, first black Miracle. You can pay X and 2 black, and oh my god, this is fantastic. This is historic. This is everything I want to be doing in life, and I could not. I saw it around lunchtime, and I was in the training room, and I was just like, I just kept repeating, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, and no one around me knew what I was talking about. But this card, I just want to do everything with this card.
This is also a very powerful effect. Again, probably too. It's weird that like 3 mana is too expensive for Legacy and Vintage. Sorry.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, I mean, casting it from your hand, it costs 5 mana to bring back 1 creature. Yeah. But, you know, we've seen miracles in Legacy before, so, you know. I'm not sure this is better than Entreat. Like what you're getting back in your Esper Miracles deck is like a Monastery Mentor, a Snapcaster Mage, but I can certainly see builds where this is better than Entreat the Angels.
Yes.
And I think that people will be experimenting with it going forward.
Some of the folks on Reddit were putting on their tinfoil hats and saying that this card might be a hint that we might finally see the black-white sister of Bruna Gisela, because there was a missing angel from Innistrad. And some people are going, Black Miracle, an angel we haven't seen yet. And so maybe that angel's coming down the pipe.
And Bruna is reprinted in the set.
I think that's amazing. So I would love it if that would happen, but we have no proof on that. And then the last card I'm really excited about is Varina Lich Queen. She is 1, a white, a blue, and a black legendary creature zombie wizard. 4/4. Whenever you attack with 1 or more zombies, draw that many cards and then discard that many cards. Sounds fine. And then you gain that much life. That's amazing. And then you can pay 2 colorless and exile 2 cards from your graveyard. So she kind of fuels herself to create a tapped 2/2 black zombie creature token. This is just an amazing card. I love this card so much. This is a really neat take on zombie decks. You know, we've certainly seen black-blue zombies, but they've been kind of getting us white zombies, specifically with Amonkhet, and this is a really neat way to incorporate all those elements. And I can't really see too clearly what her art is, but I have a feeling it's going to be a home run. And again, these are all cards that are just what I want to be doing in life.
Yeah, I think that if you have, just to go back to Entreat the Dead, because I think that card's just unbelievably powerful. In a world where you can manipulate to get it to the top of your library, in a world where you can discard like really huge fatties and set up the turn, because like that's a card that's so powerful that just with 4 or 5 mana, you can like get just a combo win, right? You just put combo pieces in the graveyard. Oh, look, I miracled up this and you're dead now. Like that to me, I can see that happening. That's very... It's scary in a good way. You know, we've seen these scary in a good way cards.
Absolutely. People have been asking for a Esper zombie commander for a while. Yeah. It's one of the combinations of colors that people wanted, particularly because of all the Amonkhet zombies to be able to take, you know, some of these triggers with. And yeah, I think that this card's just an absolute home run. Luke's super powerful and just, you know, great for 100 cards.
Yeah. All right. So Reuben, what were your choices and why?
So I want to start with a Planeswalker who has been around Magic the Gathering for ever. This, you know, I guess new players might not totally recognize Lord Windgrace.
They won't at all.
They won't.
Literally.
I mean, they might. There are certain cards that pay homage to Lord Windgrace in the past. Most recently, there was the heir to Windgrace or whatever.
Ariel was the knight.
It's fair.
Yeah. Ariel,
they may have heard the word Windgrace in some capacity. And
certainly he hasn't been referenced often, although he is on the art for, I believe, Planeswalker's Scorn, a rare from Planeshift. But Lord Windgrace was one of the original, you know, like dozen or so super badass Planeswalkers walking the plains and keeping everybody in line. He's got a huge, deep, interesting storyline, and now he's got an excellent card to go along with that. So, Lord Windgrace is a legendary Planeswalker, Windgrace, for 2 colorless, black, red, green. Enters the battlefield with 5 loyalty. So 5 mana gets you 5 loyalty. Awesome. Immediately goes up to 7. Discard a card, then draw a card. If a land card is discarded in this way, draw an additional card. Wow. Boy, howdy, is that a thing. Ooh. That is a powerful effect if I've ever seen one. -3, return up to 2 target land cards from your graveyard to the battlefield. Pretty sweet. Get a lot of extra land drops that way. You can do it the turn he comes into play. -11, destroy up to 6 target non-land permanents, then create 6 2/2 green cat warrior creature tokens with Forest Walk. Nice.
Hello.
Oh, by the way, Lord Windgrace can be your commander. So I think this is a great Jund Planeswalker. I know that some people on Twitter were chiding Wizards a little bit for being like, where's the Lands Matter deck, right? Lord Windgrace is what you get, all right? We're good with our Gitrog monsters and our explorations and our Crucible worlds. I think we're going to be okay. Yeah, Titania. Some excellent Lands Matter cards. You go along with your Gamble, crop rotation, and all that other stuff.
And your 5/5s for 5 that turns into 15/15s for 5.
Right, there you go.
Because reasons. The previous card that was spotlighted for Mr. Windgrace here was Planeswalker's Fury, a rare from Planeshift. Put it on the screen now if you wanted to check it out. Just because, for giggles.
Why not?
It's a red and 2 generic mana. It's
not good.
No, it's terrible. It's a red and 3 colon. Target opponent reveals a card at random from their hand. It deals damage equal to that card's converted mana cost to that player, and you can only do it when you can play a sorcery. So it's a 4-mana Stormseeker enchantment, essentially. That's not very good. All right. That said, what is your next card?
So my next card I wanted to talk about is maybe the most, like, we were talking about words meaning things in Magic. When you say something is an octopus, it's an 8/8, right? And it does something with its 8 arms. It's not just an 8/8. It does something with its 8 arms. You look at Vorthos the Tidemaker or any of the other octopuses, it's cool. You say Umbra, we all know what an Umbra is. It's a totem armor, and it makes your guy into
annoying.
What it is.
That's what it is.
Now we got Octopus Umbra. I love Octopus Umbra. It is... I'm just so pleased by it. It is a 3-colorless blue enchantment aura. It has totem armor, so we'll start out with that. That's an ability that we've seen a lot before, particularly in the Bogles deck, of course, which is if the creature that it enchants it would be destroyed, instead the Umbra is destroyed. So you got like an overshield. But what does it really do? Well, it turns your creature into an 8/8. It makes it an 8/8. Not plus something, not any of this other garbage. It makes it an 8/8. And it has, whenever this creature attacks, you may tap target creature with power 8 or less. This card just makes me happy.
Howard Lyon.
What's up?
The art, Howard Lyon.
Oh, for sure, Howard Lyon art. Oh, I love all of the Umbra art, where it's sort of like this sort of spiritual umbral mantle around a person inside of it, and sort of giving you this spectral beast shape to sort of embody the character. It's amazing, and I'm so happy that you can turn your kids into squids.
Wow. All right, well, let's move on here to your last choice, Miss Varchild.
Yeah, so, I took a break from the lore for a minute, but let's talk about Varchild, Betrayer of Kjeldor. I have a lot of words to read, and I'm not feeling great. So if somebody else wants to bring up the history after I read what the card does, I'm happy to discuss it. But I actually think this card's pretty sweet. Varchild, Betrayer of Kjeldor is a 2-colorless and a red, 3/3. So 3/3 for 3, pretty easy to get on the battlefield. Legendary creature, Human Knight. Whenever Varchild, Betrayer of Kjeldor, deals combat damage to a player, that player creates that many 1/1 red survivor creature tokens. So we're going to get some survivor creature tokens in this set.
Absolutely.
Survivors your opponents control can't block, and they can't attack you or a planeswalker you control. All right, that's kind of interesting.
Very nice.
When Varchild leaves the battlefield, gain control of all survivors.
What?
So, yeah. So it's not only is it just a sort of a... It's kind of like in a Crow and Horse in some ways, where it's like giving your enemies all of these powerful effects, these little 1/1s. I mean, 3 1/1s isn't a ton, but it's something. And then you get them all back later. Of note, by the way, we gain control of all changelings on the battlefield when Varchild dies. Yeah, boy, I think this is just a super sicko card.
To try not to butcher this Vorthosian bit, what little I can glean here real quickly is essentially she worked her way up into the highest regions of the military, becoming the right hand of the de facto leader of the Kjeldoran troops. the king kept saying he would consider attacking the barbarians, and so the right hand of the king decided to make the Knights of Stromgold, and they were going to kill the king and blame it on the Balduvians and the wizards in order to take control of the nation and declare war on the Balduvians. And although she hated the barbarians, Varchild could not go along with murdering the king and defended him with her life when the eventual coup came. So to those who created the Knights of Stromgold and wanted to overthrow, she was, you know, sort of a betrayer or a traitor or whatnot.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. And the card itself, I love this card. It's crazy powerful. Like, this card is super, super good. I you know, again, I like to think of, all right, you know, could they be usable in old formats? Like, if this just had 4 toughness and could survive Lightning Bolt, I have a feeling it's super good. You attack one time, and like, even if they get rid of it, it's a serious problem. Now you got 3 1/1s to deal with or whatever. So the possibilities of this card are big.
I mean, Varchild's War Riders from Alliances, which harkens back to this character, was a 3/4 for 2 because they had cumulative upkeep, give your opponents a bunch of garbage, a bunch of survivor tokens. But yeah, I just think that this card's great.
All right, so I'll take this next one. So we'll move on here from Commander 2018, but real quickly. For those who like to hear me talk about the sales side of things, it's blowing up. It's blowing up, people. We've been selling that thing like crazy. We've been
Is it really
blowing up? Yes,
nice.
it is. It's been selling absolutely terrifically.
Makes me happy.
Yeah, it's been moving big time.
It's kind of hit or miss with the Commander products when they come out. They always maintain their value. But when they come out, it's like, or they completely explode. So that's good to hear.
Yeah, the hype around this card is absolutely, or around the set rather, absolutely real. Burning through them, it's great. This is going to be one of those times when in the future, and again, we tried to cover it, and I tried to sort of cover how important it was, but the fact that Wizards direct ordering is going away. This is the exact type of situation where you go, man, I'm glad I can call Wizards and get some Commander product, because if I call a distributor, you better cross your fingers and hope you have a good account and blah, blah, blah. For those curious about M19, M19's doing okay. M19 is doing Rivals of Ixalan-ish.
Yeah.
It's a core set. No one's expecting crazy numbers. Mythics are good. Rares are generally very bad.
This is a deep breath before the plunge of Ravnica.
Essentially. Speaking of, segue. My God. If I could only give you an idea, and I was trying to go back and find it, I couldn't find it. There was, I think it was like 2007, maybe 2008, where like I literally made it a bit on the Magic Show to be like, Wizards, we need D&D and MTG, and they go together. You got these entire worlds and these planes that you're making, and they're really cool, and you need to do something about it. But back then, D&D was a garbage fire, and no one wanted to step in the garbage fire because it's garbage that's on fire. And so they instead said no and ignored it, and then they started doing like these little supplement things. I think it was around Shadows of Innistrad. They started going like, hey, we can give you a little, here's some stuff for you for D&D, and here's some more stuff. And they've been doing it there too. And then they did it again in, what was it, Kaladesh and Ixalan and whatnot. Like, you got a little something. But Reuben, tell us, or would you rather not tell us, and we tell you?
No, man. I'm still feeling a little.
You're not feeling
sickish,
great,
but I will talk for a minute, and then I'm going to stop talking because I'm trying to make it to the end of the show.
You got it.
So D&D announced the Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica as one of the 2 products announced on Monday. The other one being Eberron.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me, I'm just trying to work through it. The Wayfinder's Guide to Eberron, which is right now available on DM's Guild. If you're unfamiliar with Eberron, it's sort of like a steampunky Shadowrun-ish world for Dungeons & Dragons. And it's Keith Baker is the brainchild behind it. He created it, 15 years ago. Mm-hmm. And he's the guy in charge, and there's lots of excellent new products coming out each and every day. You can have encounters in Sharn, which Sharn is like a major city in Eberron, and I believe it's the first ever supplement to reach gold in the first day. which is like an unheard of thing on DM's Guild.
So when you say gold, do you mean like in sales? Like
in sales. I don't know what gold means in this context, but I know that they are selling like gangbusters.
Right.
And if you think that's good, boy, let me tell you what happens when Ravnica Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica comes out. In game stores, November 9th, support your local game store. Available everywhere, November 20th.
Yeah.
So
oh my God.
I am just ecstatic beyond belief that this is finally a thing. You all know that I'm in touch with the D&D subculture, as not as much as I'm in Magic, but of course I'm getting closer. The art on the cover, by the way, may interest you to know that is our good close personal friend Magali Villanov.
Stepping it up. I mean, look at this woman.
With this beautiful guild mage with theoretically Niv Mizzet in the background. It certainly looks like Niv Mizzet.
And just look at the natural hair. Yeah, the natural hair, the skin complexion, the lightning. You know, Magali's just one of those artists where when I think she can't top herself, she just does something else where it's like, how are you just this consistently awesome? Like, I don't understand.
Yeah, it's
sorry, go ahead.
I'm gonna bring it up here on the screen. The Guildmaster's Guide is coming out as a campaign book. Again, this is a full-blown retail
release. This is a campaign
release.
book. They've never done anything like this.
I would play this. And I'm not really a D&D person, but damn it.
So there's 3 products total. There's the D&D Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica. There is the Maps and Miscellany pack, which
and that's really important. So Ravnica is a world city. Right? It's like that. It's like episode 1 of Star Wars. It's entirely city. There is no area of the planet not covered by city. There's a term for it that I'm forgetting, but it is a 3-dimensional map, essentially, in terms of what does Ravnica look like. If you took a photo of a 2-dimensional photo of the surface, that doesn't tell you anything. These maps, after listening to the D&D Beyond folks and listening to Dragon Talk, are sort of at an angle so that you can see the strata, you can see the layers, and like get a sense of where does the Hallowed Fountain exist in relation to the Opal Lake, in relation to Rix Maadi, and all of these iconic places in Ravnica. You know, the Golgari are completely underneath the surface. So where do they exist in this whole world? And it is just a fascinating little map pack that I'm really excited to get my hands on.
Speaking of I'm sorry.
There's one more product. The last product is a Ravnica dice pack, which includes a D20, a D12, 2 D10s, 1 D8, 4 D6s, 1 D4, and a guild die.
Right.
What's a guild die? Is this a 10-sided? What I've seen that makes the most sense is that it's a 10-sided die with all the Ravnica guilds on it. And at some point, you'll need to roll it in order to choose a guild to do a thing, right? I have no idea.
Yeah, speaking of books, the Ravnica art book, the cover came out, and there were some Easter eggs on that cover. Jaya can be seen with a cowl around her head, being ushered through a crowd of people. You see Teysa at the forefront of this crowd with a very different looking outfit. The keyhole's gone. They covered up the keyhole, so Teysa's looking a little differently. If you look to the far left, you will see Vraska and some people that appear to have been turned to stone. And so this cover, already giving people a sneak peek of the fact that Ravnica is going to be bringing a lot of these faces together. It's going to be really interesting to see who shows up.
Yeah, and not to be too mean about it, I hope they promote it a little bit better this time. That would be great. Just a little bit better on the promos. That would be.
But Jaya on Ravnica, that's going to be a thing.
That sounds like fun.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll move on here to the Hasbro Q2 Report. There has been lots of narratives.
Are we out of jobs? Is this guy falling?
This is the last episode. I don't know how to break it to you guys. We're all done here. I got to go look for a job.
You got kids to feed.
I got 5 kids and Magic's dead, and so there we go. And it's been real, folks. So the Q2 report came out. There's been narratives of boycotts, narratives of Magic's losing players like crazy, and all this stuff. And that's not true at all. And in fact, Magic's doing pretty well. And increased sales with Wizards or not Wizards. Hasbro does not like to say, Magic did this. Magic did $20 million in sales or whatever. They lump them together. They say stuff like Monopoly and Magic made $40 million. They increased their sales by $40 million. That's a lot. Now, they were talking about Monopoly, and again, Monopoly sells. It's weird, I know, and if you're a board gamer, you hate Monopoly. That's like one of the first things that happens when you get into board games, is you're like, wait a minute, that game's terrible, and no one told me, right? But it is. So, but the things like they did a gamer edition, and they also did a cheaters edition, which to me sounds like the most awful, disgusting experience I can imagine. It literally, that you give people like cards to do like cheaty things, like, you know, take an extra whatever from the bank and stuff.
Oh, so
Hey
it's the
guys,
Alice
I'm sorry.
edition.
I'm sorry to do this in the middle. I gotta. I'll see if I can come back, but I gotta run for a minute.
All right,
I don't feel well right now.
that's fine.
Sorry, everybody.
All
So
right.
it's the Alspert and Cheney edition of Monopoly? Just
Yeah, basically, and literally, it rewards you for doing that, and for doing these kind of cheatery things. And like, to me, that just sounds like the antithesis of fun. Regardless, it kind of moved on and said, you know, Dominaria performed at a very high level, and I can tell you, very high level. Seriously, that was great. They're talking about great. There's a double-digit year-over-year uptick in gamers who are playing Magic, which again could be 10% or 17% or whatever. Just, you know, but usually when they say double-digit, what they mean is, well, there's 2 digits in 10, so it's double. Which is fine. And again, that's a fantastic growth rate if it is 10%. MTG is a very profitable business. Let me tell you, you only have to pay for them to make the cards once, and then you hit the print button, and then you print, make the stuff. They also mentioned that software is more profitable than analog, basically real things. Turns out zeros and ones make a lot more money than the things you have to make and print and package and ship and distribute and blah 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 blah. Versus like, just give me your money and I'll give you these magical bits that happen on screen. See also Fortnite making like $200 million a month, which is ridiculous. They're talking a lot about Arena. They're almost talking like mono Arena. I think you'll notice at this point, we ain't really said MTGO, Magic Online's presence, or anything in a while, in a very long while. In terms of like the things that he would say to investors, the thing he would say on CNBC, which we'll get to some of that later. Either way, over time, they have doubled the size of Magic over the years, and they think that there's the opportunity to double it again, both the analog side as well as the digital games, which I think is cool. So, again, they had 1 million, I didn't know this, they had 1 million people sign up for the closed beta of MTG Arena.
wow.
So they've had already 1 million signups for that. So, and some people have mentioned, you know, you get tinfoil hats on, that they did the server test so that they could get that number up above the magic million, because it sounds really good. You know, everybody register.
Sense.
Yeah, and we'll make it happen. So essentially, Magic's doing great.
These are good.
This is cool. I mean, there's changes sort of on the back end, on the distributor side, game store side a little bit, in terms of, again, the direct ordering stuff going away. There's talk about prices increasing. Not really sure yet. But, you know, again, we're doing great. Magic's doing great. There's nothing to complain about, except those are complaining.
Yeah, this is a nice turnaround from the first quarter report. If I remember correctly, that was right around the time the Toys R Us had just folded, and so they were feeling the impact of those losses, and they were coming off of some sets that, you know, weren't terrible, but maybe weren't the best sellers. And, you know, I really feel like that was the impetus for a lot of the sort of doomsday, you know, reporting that we were seeing, and a lot of the theories of Magic is dying. And so, you know, but coming off of a very strong set like Dominaria, you know, the return of the core set, you know, the hype around Ravnica, you know, the boost with Magic Arena, you know, you're seeing them also try a lot of new things in terms of breaking into new audiences. You're seeing them with the, you know, there was the young man on YouTube that they paid for him to like make a video about them, and so you're seeing them try all of these new things, and I think some of them might even be working. You know, the combined effort, I think, is really leading to the growth, and I think it's a good thing.
Absolutely. So so Hasbro's doing great. They wouldn't say much as they normally are, but I think they told us as much as they could in terms of like, we're doing well. High five. We're going to make some money. Let's
Yay
do
for
this.
job security.
Yay. All right. Welcome back, Rubes. I hope you feel okay. You're still muted.
Sorry about
Pulled
that.
an Evan on that.
Wow. Pulled a straight Irwin on that one. Like, that's just me. So we talked about Hasbro Q2 and how they crushed it. Talk a little bit about Chiba. They had a unlimited draft there, not a beta one.
Ooh.
My God, you thought the beta draft was good. They cracked a Lotus and a Mox Ruby and a Timetwister. That's good, clean living right there.
I remember keeping up with it online, and for our patrons or people who are thinking of becoming patrons, we have our own Discord channel where you can talk to us. We all contribute pretty frequently, and we have a channel called Show Topics. And so anytime something comes up in the community, we're always posting links and ideas and tweets. And I was up really late one night as everything was going on, and all of a sudden I see the Lotus, and so I link it, and all of a sudden 5 seconds later it's like Timetwister, and I'm just linking, and normally we link and come back to things. We don't normally just blow up the channel, and every time I thought it couldn't get any better and I thought we were done, something else would drop, and I was like, holy God. And it was just one thing after another, and the crowd was living for it, and it was everything we want these drafts to be. You know, we want to see these wild pulls, and it was just amazing to watch, and you almost felt like you were there too. It was contagious.
Yeah, it was fantastic. And
the piece de resistance was the rare island in the last pack.
They ain't much more, old school unlimited, packs than island is the rare. You got us. Thanks.
Yeah.
It's great. So Wizards is doing something weird with the Team Series Championship at the World Championship. So the World Championships are held usually around my birthday. My birthday is September 24th. This is the 21st to the 23rd, so they just missed it. Wizards, come on now. Get it better than that. 2 teams will be part of the Team Series Championship. That's going to be taking place on September 23rd. They revealed the format for the 2018 World Championship. Today they're revealing the format for the Team Series, which is Guilds of Ravnica. And that's going to bump a lot of things. It's going to be kind of weird. The final 2 teams in the 2017-2018 Pro Tour Team Series, as of the conclusion of Pro Tour 25th Anniversary, which happens next weekend, will be among the first to open up some packs of Guilds of Ravnica, as team sealed using the not yet released new set will be the spotlight format to determine the 2017-2018. So there's not much prep you can do, but,
Wow.
cross your fingers and hope to God.
That sounds like when Paul Rietzel put forth the idea of only give everyone access to the set 36 hours before the Pro Tour.
Yeah.
Which I thought was hilarious.
But this is very similar in that way. As such, the preview season is going to look a little weird. The full card image gallery is going to be posted on Wednesday, September 19th, instead of the traditional Friday before the pre-release weekend, when the full card image gallery has typically gone live. The pre-release will be taking place on Wednesday, September 19th, again when the full set gets spoiled, and rather than on the weekend, which is kind of interesting and may present some problems that they may have an issue with. That said, the Team Series competitors will be given at least a full day's worth of time in a private room with a case of Guilds of Ravnica to be able to build, test, and discuss all things Guilds of Ravnica in preparation for the Team Series Championship. Amount of sleep gotten in that room, 0. The competitors will not be allowed to take the product with them when they leave the room.
It'll be like ad nauseum the home game.
And see, the competitors can't take it with them. How much you patting down there, bruh? You making sure? We just checking pockets? We doing the whole works?
One to ask PV to turn his head and cough.
Wow, that's an interesting bulge of whatever. The play format.
Careful.
I know, right? It's a family show. Both teams will split into 2 groups of 3, building team seal decks, with each of the 2 groups building 3 decks for the players from 12 packs of Guilds of Ravnica. And then they'll play each other and so on and so forth, and everybody gets a bunch of money. It's really weird that this is harkening back to, like, what was it, Visions or something? There was a Pro Tour where they gave them... It was
also a pre-release.
It was also a pre-release.
It was Mirage or Visions, one of the 2.
Right, one of those. And this was what they did. They're like, here's some new cards. Good luck. See you guys. And they just kind of had to figure it out. So they're more or less recreating that, which is going to be weird. And Wizards, I hope you've got all this ready to have, like, a video team filming them and interviewing them and talking about them so you can make a segment about it. If you haven't done that, let's do that, because that's going to be incredibly fascinating. I can't...
Also, Wizards, I'm going to need a little bit of notice for me to appear on that pre-release, because I know you ain't having a Golgari pre-release and not inviting this. So we need to...
There we are about the brands. A lot of branding. Whole bunch of branding. And that's fine. That's fine. Guilds of Ravnica, though, like, we're starting to, we're going to start to see the engine. I mean, Ravnica is an unstoppable beast when it gets going. Like, RTR, the hype was absolutely through the roof.
And I feel like we are already seeing kind of the building blocks of that. Particularly in Standard, we've had this red-black aggro list floating around, which is just crying out for Rakdos cards, real Rakdos cards. We have the blue-white control list, the approach list, which would love some Azorius cards. Black-green Constrictor, doesn't see as much play, but it's still a thing. There are already decks in Standard that could be homes for these cards. That could slot in very naturally from Ravnica, and so I'm really excited to see what they're going to do to Standard, and especially older formats, because if you look back at the last Return to Ravnica block, so many of those cards just had such an impact. Abrupt Decay, Deathrite Shaman, rest in peace. And
I mean, on and on and on and on and on. And the dual lands are going to come back, and that's going to be amazing. My favorite sort of joke about Ravnica is they made the lands perfectly printable in any other set, but they only print them in the Ravnica sets because reasons. It's part of the charm, right? So that's fine. Once Guild gets going, man, it's going to be unbelievable, and I'm excited. And, good luck to those who are playing in that crazy team format. Speaking of crazy, my God, there was an update to the Magic Online 1v1 Commander. Now, this is a weird niche of a niche, right? This is the nichiest of niches. Snitches get niches. And you have Commander cards. You have Commander cards, that just, you have Commander decks that just don't work unless you're playing 1v1, and they're really weird, and they're kind of warped, and the way they work is strange, and Wizards is like, you know what? We don't care. Just go nuts. We're going to take off something like 15 to 20 cards off the ban list, and we're talking big dogs. Now there still is a ban list, and there's still cards on it like the Power 9 and stuff. But you get Soul Ring back. You get,
oh my God, Yawgmoth's Bargain,
Necropotence, like Chrome Mox, Ancient Tomb, like. This is huge. Gaia's Cradle? I mean, like, this is a monstrous, like, just, this is very close to the no-ban modern type format thing where they're just like, go nuts, go crazy. I believe
some of these cards are even banned in, like, actual Commander. Like, I'm just looking at some of these cards and I'm like, what?
They're not messing around. Like, for real, this is they're just like, you know what? If you want to have fun and do a bunch of broken, crazy crap with your 99 cards and plus your Commander, then whatever.
And the 1v1 format's the competitive, the super spiky one, and so it makes sense to do it here.
I don't know. Competitive Commander never makes sense to me. It makes about as much sense as a Volvo with a gun rack. I just don't get it, where it's like, what? Like, I don't know.
All right, so we got a lot to go through. We got a lot of show, and Reuben needs to rest.
Yeah, if we can. I'm sorry, everybody, but I gotta take a nap. Like, I don't feel well.
Yeah, he's not doing too great.
Can we end it at 9 this week?
Sure. So we'll kind of go a little bit quickly. Never in a million years did I imagine that one day I would see Mark Rosewater and a cardboard cutout with a giant button nearby that talks to you. That is amazing. I'm going to bring it up here right now on the screen. Real life. There's Mark Rosewater, and he says magic is awesome whenever you hit the button. And that's incredible. I don't know really what to say.
Shame he doesn't have more lines, because there's so many things that are just so unique to him. And man, Reuben, maybe they could hire you to fill in the gaps. Just
not this week.
Not this week, but maybe next week when he's feeling better.
Or if you need a Helene Bergio cutout, you can call me and I can help you out with that. And
fair enough. Wanted to highlight really quickly here, friend of the show, Rhino, also known as MTG Young Mage. Find that YouTube channel and subscribe.
This weekend.
Yeah, and got to meet him at GP Vegas. Great kid. And he did an amazing thing, essentially. He decided to take Magic to Camp Cherokee. This is I believe it's a Boy Scout camp. And Reuben and I were talking about how we were in the Boy Scouts when we were kids. I was in the Cub Scouts even from way back in the day. I had the uniform and everything. It was adorable. But yeah, essentially they decided to show the camp director, that this is part of STEM, which is the science, technology, engineering, and math, sort of idea that you can teach around those types of subjects, and that magic is very much related to those subjects. And everybody was going nuts, and they gave the kids all things they could sign up for, like frisbee golf and basketball and soccer and whatever, or magic, which immediately filled up first, as it should. And that was great. And so I think he was able to work with Wizards in order to get the welcome decks, to get enough welcome decks to be able to run a few weeks worth of tournaments, which was really cool. I didn't get to read every single last bit about it, but the idea that he essentially took Magic to the camp to teach everybody loved it and they had fun, and you had all the sort of silly stuff, which like Unsummon's overpowered and Nightmare's the best creature, and those things you really only get when you have that kind of innocence, awesomeness of new players, and they just don't know what they don't know, and it's great. So good on you, Rhino.
Yeah, he's definitely doing good work, and I really appreciate sort of I just love his approach to creating content and the way he explores different communities and the way that he kind of goes behind the scenes and things. And I really think he's found his niche, and I always look forward to whatever he puts out.
Yeah. So
I really gotta go, guys. I'm sorry.
It's okay. Look, you bow out. We'll take care of the rest.
Okay.
We'll miss your joke, but that's okay. We'll see you later. Rube's got to go, and that's fine. All right. So we'll check on him as we move forward. All right. Let's see here. There was a silly little thread that I'm just going to mention it and move on because it's ridiculous. Magic Arena had a crash our server day, and the server crashed because everyone showed up like they wanted them to, and then players got mad because it crashed.
Yeah, well, I mean, I can kind of understand. I can kind of understand where they're coming from, because if you're not a part of that initiative, if you're just trying to do your thing, like say that you're a streamer and you've got a regular schedule, or you're trying to make videos, whatever, you just want to do your thing. You just want to mind your own business, and so all of a sudden there's people coming in, and you're like, I understand that you're part of this thing and you're trying to celebrate it, but I'm not here for that. I'm just trying to do my thing. And so I can kind of understand how if that wasn't the reason you logged on and you're just trying to play the game and enjoy it, that your party's kind of being crashed a little bit. I can kind of understand that. I
guess. I mean, you literally signed up to test it. You literally knew that day was the day.
That's valid.
It's a little weird. It's basically just silly, and this is one of those, like, again, they stapled $10 to boxes, and that's a problem. Like, no, you really gave you $10 extra right there, which is fine. Let's move over here to Going Infinite. A little brain teaser. Wizards missed a huge opportunity in retrospect for Pro Tour Dominaria. It turns out that the longest stint between Pro Tours, like the last Pro Tour you played in and then the most recent, the largest distance between them is 8,139 days. That is the number of days from Pro Tour New York 96, which is, I'm pretty sure, the first one, to Dominaria 2018. Tom Murray played in both of those events, has not played in the Pro Tour except the first one and the last one that we saw. And that is incredible. Like, and if they did a segment, please correct me, because I would love to watch it. Like, I would love to have the insight of what in the world Tom Murray thinks about Magic, having played in the first Pro Tour and now the most recent one. That's incredible.
Well, especially considering that, part of the sales push for Dominaria was sort of this I'm going home kind of thing, returning to Dominaria. And I seem to recall there being a couple of spots that featured players who had been gone for a little while. But I'm kind of agreeing with you that I would have liked to have gone all the way back and been like, really get those old school players, maybe in some of those older Hall of Famers we don't hear from anymore, and see what they're up to nowadays, and see if the set encouraged them to come back in any capacity. And that's something I would have really liked to have seen. Yeah,
I put the link in the chat. Currently, for the 25th Pro Tour 25th anniversary, the person coming back is Curtis Hahn, who has not been played in a Pro Tour since San Diego in 2002. And that's the days when everything was broken, busted, and sucked. So who knows what's going on these days with these wacky planeswalkers. So this is, I think, a big opportunity for Wizards, should they be listening, to get Curtis Hahn into an interview chair and just talk to him about like what it took to get back on the Pro Tour, how he feels about Magic players. Are they better overall than they used to be? Because that's what I personally feel, but who knows? Particularly at that level.
Yeah, especially, you mentioned just the difficulties in coming back. I can't help but think of that Toby Keith song of I Ain't As Good As I Once Was. And so what is it like to be on the Pro Tour when you're essentially a kid, when you're in your late teens, maybe early 20s, and then to come back as maybe a father or a husband in your late 30s and your 40s? There's got to be a difference there, and just in terms of how you process information and how sharp you are. I'd really like to hear about that.
it's just it always cracks me up. And again, this is one of the things that like struck me big time when I actually got to fly around the world and check out the Pro Tour, meet the pros and all this stuff. Like, there are scrubs at the Pro Tour. There are literally somebody's the worst in the room, right?
Yeah.
And somebody's the best in the room. And I know it's weird, but like, you know, it's, well, maybe your in boss in your local town. It could be like literally, you know, this guy's terrible. It's like, you got to the Pro Tour. He's not terrible. He didn't randomly, you know, slip, fall, and get to the Pro Tour. That's amazing. So there's a weird corollary. Moving on to splash damage here. There's a weird corollary right now with board gaming and Magic. And I'll tell you that because, you know, when I took the job at Cool Stuff Inc., obviously drenched in the Magic, know the Magic left and right, up, down, for years and years and years, ever since I was a teenager. But I didn't know much about board gaming, right? So I learned about board games. I love board games. I have a monster stack in my living room, I can tell you, that I don't get to play as much as I ever should. But I absolutely love board games. And what you're finding is where Magic was about 10 years ago is where board games are right now. Board gamers are starting to find that, hey, there's not a lot of women in board gaming. Well, what's up with that? And then it's like, well, what could we do to be more inclusive? And once we start about the magical I word, that's when people start to get mean about it and awkward and silly. And yeah, so that's a conversation that's been happening in terms of like, we want more female representation. Okay, cool. And there's been some changes in it, including the largest YouTube channel, the Dice Tower, who Cool Stuff Inc., you know, full disclosure here, sponsors. And they've been including more female contributors because, again, they want to help sort of lead that charge. So there came out news today that there was going to be a movie called Board Game Designers, or like the Board Game Designer movie or something like that. And when it first showed up, it was 27 white dudes and a person of color. That's it. Literally just, and then they had a trailer. Oh my God. I swear to God, I'm cringing right now. They had a trailer that was like 2.5 minutes of nerdy white guys doing nerdy white guy stuff. And look, there's nothing wrong with that. But like, they were even told before it sort of got launched to the world, before the world knew about it, hey, you don't have any female designers on there at all. And they're like, whatever, we don't care. It's fine, Kurt. It's just like, okay, because when it came out, it blew up. Like, what are you doing? Because the segment, it just writes itself, doesn't it? Like, you get the one designer that you can find, because again, in board gaming, it's incredibly difficult for females of designer or any sort of back end R&D type stuff to do well, and you know that's what you make that segment of the documentary about. Like, what is it like in that world? How tough is it in that world? That's why there's only one. I think they added it, and later because of the outlash or the
backlash.
The backlash. Thank you. They added in. I think there's like 3 or 4 female contributors now, and great, good on them. They did well, and I want to congratulate that. But you knew you screwed up, and they shouldn't have done that in the first place.
Yeah, and it's frustrating, and you touched on a really good point, Evan, is when they do invite somebody, she's usually only there to talk about being a woman. It's like the difference when you have a female CEO versus a male CEO. You know, what is the one thing they always ask her is, what's it like being a career woman and raising a family? And it's like, you don't ask him that. Like, why is that? You have like a series of go-to questions that you have specifically for women. And so it's one thing to not have any on your show, and it's one thing to have very few on your show, but it's another to have her there solely to talk about being a woman. If you're not asking her the same questions that you're asking everybody else, if you're not focusing on her work or you're not focusing on the designs, you might as well not even invite her, because that's really, really patronizing. And so it is kind of interesting to see. We talked about this in the pre-show a little bit, just how different communities are dealing with this, and how communities like D&D and Magic have been kind of resilient to this sort of thing in terms of the backlash and things of that nature, and that board gaming is sort of behind, and that things that we've dealt with already, like this has actually been a really good year for Magic in terms of the number of women who are streaming and doing coverage and writing and things like that. It's weird to sort of see the community that's just now coming up on this sort of thing and seeing how they're going to end up having to deal with it, because board gaming is massive right now. Going to Gen Con, it's like, you know, we're pretty decent size fish in the Magic pond, but you go to Gen Con and you really realize that you're nobody. Like, in the board gaming scheme of things, Reuben kind of touched on a little bit when he was at Comic-Con. You know, Reuben's got about 7,000 followers on Twitter. Reuben's been in the Magic game for years and years, and he goes to Comic-Con and he's an ant. And so, you know, that community has been very fortunate, but they're getting to a critical mass where they're going to have to deal with this. And if seeing what's happened in other communities is any indication, it's going to get a little ugly.
It's going to get, I mean, like, there's no one, for for contrast, there's no one making drama videos, quote unquote, and you know what I'm talking about board games. They're not making those. They don't, there's not sort of like an industry that's built up. You know, they're just getting to this point where, like, you know, they say the SJW is the pejorative, and then the slope gets slippery, and oh my God. And it's weird to see it happening because, again, I see so many parallels.
And it really is a playbook. It really is something that you can see the same tactics being used across different communities to where you can almost predict how it's going to go.
Yeah. And so that to me was really interesting. Again, the fact that, like, when I was bringing, you know, we were looking at the segments and building all the segments, I couldn't find the original tweet I had linked to because they went back and actually fixed it. That's great. I'm totally okay with that. But you're not going to get out of being, you know, hey, that was some BS and you should do better.
Yeah, the fact that it didn't even cross their mind is very telling, where it's like, you honestly thought no one was going to notice. Like, that says something.
Right. And to be clear, in terms of, like, representation, I feel like there can be a segment of the documentary about the struggles, but obviously also include her in terms of the overall design and talk and segments and stuff like that.
I also think it depends on if she chooses to volunteer that topic. You know, going back to the female CEO, it's one thing if she chooses to bring up, like, oh man, you know, it's really hard traveling with kids, but it's another when you force her to talk about that, you know. And so I think kind of the same thing, where if you're already interviewing a female designer and she volunteers that, like, you know, yeah, I was really delayed on getting this game out because this sort of thing happened, I think that's one thing, but it's another to tell her this is what you're here for when she's like, I don't want to talk about that. It's different.
Oh, for sure. And, you know, I mean, there's a way that you can handle it in the right way, I guess is the way to say it. And obviously, I hope that they do that.
Yeah.
Moving on here, D&D is killing it, and it sucks that Reuben's not here to be able to sort of
because I was actually really eager to hear his thoughts on all of this, because he has been just living his best D&D life right now.
D&D is blowing up, and it's getting really, really huge. Best year ever, and D&D's been around like 30 years, so that's important. Oh, yeah, there's Rubes in there with the thumbs. It's fan-freaking-tastic. We're loving it. If you're listening to the podcast, his hand randomly showed up with a thumbs up, which is good. But, you know, the double-digit new user growth, and I'll be honest, I know this sounds kind of weird. I 100% think that a huge portion of the D&D resurgence is because of Stranger Things. Stranger Things put a spotlight on it. They made it cool. They made it fun and interesting. They made concepts that people could grasp and get their head around, and it just blew up from there. Yes, Critical Role and all those people are certainly a huge segment and a factor, but, you know, for me, in terms of, like, what was my tipping point was after Stranger Things, D&D was cool. D&D was neat, and everybody can get into it, and it just exploded.
Yeah, Stranger Things is definitely a big part of it. I think it might even be, and we're seeing this with board games in general, I think it might be people just kind of longing for human connection again. I think we've kind of reached a peak in terms of how connected we all are, in terms of our social media, and how we just aren't, you know, nobody even takes phone calls anymore. You know, people see getting a phone call as a bother. And so, you know, I see this as sort of being a move away from, you want to be around people, you want to have real interactions again. And this is another way, you know, in addition to board games in general, really bringing people together and going, you know what, I'm going to turn off my phone for one night, and, you know, I'm not going to be a slave to ringtones and vibrations and notifications. I'm just going to hang out with four of my really good friends. We're going to sit face to face. We're going to have a meal. We're going to have snacks. We're going to have paper and pen. It just feels like kind of a throwback that I think some people are really craving right now.
Absolutely. So, yeah, that was terrific and awesome news to hear.
And speaking of board games.
Speaking of board games,
we are going to be at Gen Con next weekend.
Well, next week. I won't.
Yeah.
I fly out Wednesday at the crack of dawn. I got to be at the airport at like 4 something in the morning.
No.
Oh my God.
I don't even know my name at that hour.
I know. It makes me sad. So there will be no live show next week. There will be a top 10 show. We're going to be doing top 10 equipment. That'll be fun. Yeah. Top 10 Elves will be out on Friday, for those who are curious what that is. But if you're a patron, you can listen to it right now, including like a half hour to 45 minutes of us talking about some crazy stuff, because that's what we do here. And that's where we bring that value.
If you are going to be at Gen Con, Evan and I will both be there, so please say hello. Personally, I will be bringing all of our tokens, so if you're looking for a Reuben token, an Evan token, a me token, I'll have those. I also will have Magic Mike stickers, so if you're looking for any sort of merch, come say hello, and you can walk away with some free stuff.
Yeah, and I'll be bringing along as much as I can. I'm there, obviously, for work reasons, and I'll be going from meeting to meeting, so, you know, forgive me if I have to kind of break away, but regardless, it's awesome to say hi. Super cool. That said, we're going to move on here, turn the corner to the finisher. And inspired by, and I'm not sure if you want me to mention this, but it certainly gives you context. This is inspired by Bilbo's speech at his 111th birthday, which is that's how Lord of the Rings started. If you don't know, that's how Lord of the Rings started. It's fine. My dear Timmys and Tammys, Johnnies and Jennies, Spikes, Melvins, Vorthoses of all ages, today is Magic's 25th birthday. Wow. Alas, 15 years is far too short a time to live among such excellent and admirable magicians. I don't know half of your cards half as well as I should like, and I like less than half of your decks half as well as you deserve. Rounded down, of course. So, my gathered friends, what do you love most about Magic from the first 25 years of the game's existence, Erin?
Well, I love the graveyard. I love Dredge and Reanimator and discarding cards and Unearth and Retrace and Delve and Flashback and Delirium and Evan, I need a zombie token for Guilds of Ravnica. The people want one thing. Do the right thing.
We can do this. You know, I love the community. I love making videos and interviewing and breaking new ground with things never been done in competitive Magic and artists and cosplayers and bringing new shows like Magic Mike to the forefront and introduce new people to the game. And Rubes, I need you to start making stuff. Erin and I have been holding up our end of the bargain. I've been dragging you on my coattails, bruh. Get off your butt and make something. Go on.
Or at least show up on time.
Show up on time. My favorite, and people who don't know unless they're like watch the pre-show, my favorite is he would yell at me. He's like, "Wow, you couldn't show up," and then I showed up on time and he wasn't.
Or the biggest behind the scenes too. Let me leave them a little tidbit. So when we do the top 10 show, the way that you win a gift certificate through watching the top 10s is you give us an honorable mention. You leave a comment either on YouTube or on Reddit or on Twitter, and you pick a card that we didn't talk about because obviously some of these categories have hundreds of choices, and we go back and choose the one that we like. And Reuben's actually the one who's supposed to pick the honorable mention. Now you would think he would have it ready by the time we go live on Monday, but how many times have we been? Pre-show's been running, camera's been going, we're ready to go live. Hey, Reuben, you got the honorable mention yet? No, boss.
What?
One job.
Just saying.
Love you, Reuben.
Yes, we love the Rubes, and we hope he feels better soon.
Yes.
But we got a giveaway to do before we run out, ending an episode here. Mr. Joe P. from Auburn, Washington. Congratulations.
Hello.
You have won a $50 gift certificate to CoolStuffInc.com. Thank you very much, Cool Stuff, for providing that to us. And Erin.
Joe PP.
Yeah. Erin, I've provided you with the information for the winner, so we can make that happen. That's fun. We want to quickly here give a shout out to all of our new subscribers or people who are resubscribing. They want not. Let's take a look here. Arvarus has subscribed. Thank you very much. We appreciate that. Mr. Lou Bufu has given us some bits, which is awesome. Argent Griever has resubscribed for 3 months. Thank you very much. David Garfinkel has subscribed. Thanks a whole bunch. House of Shadow has resubscribed now for 3 months. You're awesome. Thank you very much. Let's see here. Promethean Chaos 66 resubscribed for 3 months. Thank you much. Blazing Disciple has done so. Jersey Bricklayer has resubscribed for 4 months. You guys are great. We get more people to sub. We get more emotes. And if y'all wanted to do something with Reuben, I saw some Reuben-y chat. Y'all want to do some Reuben stuff? Maybe we can get one of his faces or something. We'll figure it out. That is terrific.
Martin Kaka as well. Thank
nice.
You. Immortal Squee.
And Glorioso has subscribed. Thank you very much. Martin Kaka, yes, for 3 months, which is great. Thanks to the Immortal Squee for them bits. That is great. And I believe that ends the list here. So we are going to end another live episode of Magic Mike's. Thank you for joining us here to discuss all things Magic. Thank you, Erin.
Thank you for having me, and I'll see you next week.
That's right, you will. And Reuben, we miss you, buddy. We hope you feel good and better.
Oh, I'm so worried about him. I worry about him. I really do. He needs to eat something. I feel like his mama. Like every time I see him, I'm always like, "Are you sleeping enough? Are you eating enough? You're living this vagabond life."
We worry about Rubes, because we care.
Yes.
Yes, we do. All right, moving here to our final slide. I want to thank our sponsor, CoolStuffInc.com, our co-sponsor, CardHoarder.com, my co-hosts, Erin Campbell and Reuben Bressler, you guys for watching or listening. I hope you support us at Patreon.com/MagicMikes. Please follow, like, favorite, tweet, share, subscribe, do everything social that tells people we exist. Catch us online at twitch.tv at Magic Mikes, on Twitter at Magic Mikes Cast, our Magic Mikes subreddit, and like the Magic Mikes page on Facebook. Talk to us privately at MagicMikesPodcast@gmail.com. Follow the audio-only podcast at MagicMikesPodcast@Libsyn.com, or find us on iTunes or join us here next week. Not next week. Week after that. It's fine. Then it'll be on the same time. Then it'll be in the same place for another episode of Magic Mikes. Good night, everybody.